Hey, 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 look at us. Look at us. We're back with a live. It's not just me. I'm joined by somebody awesome who I'm going to intro here in a second. I hope you love a countdown as much as I love a countdown. Whenever they ask me if I okay, hold on a second. Gian, I can hear the event coming through your computer. There we go. All right, we muted it. I could hear me talking to me, and I don't know about you. I can't stand the sound of my voice. I thought that was going to happen because he was watching. It's like when you call a radio show and they're like, "Can you turn down the sound of the radio, sir?" That's what I had to do right away. So that's not the intro I wanted to GN, but it's the intro we got. It's like Batman. It's not the hero we wanted, but it's the hero we deserve. I love a countdown. I always, if they go, the team's always like, "Do you want a 30-second countdown?" I'm like, "Totally. Let's do a 30-second countdown." When speaker, like when events ask me if I want a walk-up song, I always say AC/DC Back in Black. That's what I always choose. So I always choose a countdown, always choose Back in Black. But today we're going to do about 30 minutes, and I'm joined by Gian. And some of y'all have met Gian. There's a lot of folks in the Guaranteed Goals community who have met Gian. But for the folks who haven't, Gian and I have worked together for about a year, 18 months or so. I met him a couple years ago at an event, and I was looking for somebody to help me with social media and help me with a goal community that I dreamed up with the team. And Gian jumped right in. And so we kind of consider him like the cruise director for the Guaranteed Goals community. So we wanted to make sure that there was somebody that was answering questions, that was providing guidance, and was creating follow through. So one of the big things when we asked you guys, what are the things that are troubling about goals, follow through was something that got mentioned again and again. Like I'm excited, and then I have a hard time following through. So one of the ways we addressed that was we hired Gian. So when I teach lessons in the Guaranteed Goals community, in the weeks between, we do something called Check-In with Gian, and it's a 30 to 60-minute session. It's live on Zoom, and Gian answers questions, helps hold people accountable, encourages them. He's from Brazil, and the last thing I'll do is brag on Gian for a minute. He's the picture of hard work and goals. Like, he absolutely is. So his story is, in high school, his mom really wanted him to come to America and get an education in America. So she sold their car. I don't mean she sold one of their cars. She sold their car, the car, so that they could afford to send him to Connecticut. He ends up going to Connecticut as a senior in high school. Imagine moving to a foreign country you've never lived in before your senior year, has an amazing senior in high school, gets a college tennis scholarship to become a college athlete, ends up crushing it in college, becomes a tennis coach in America, falls in love in college, now has kids in America, lives in America. And he's just the picture of somebody who chased a goal and turned it into an amazing reality. So, Jan, it's always so fun to hang out with you. Welcome to the All It Takes Is a Goal Facebook group. I think we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yeah, I've been a part of this group for a few years now too, and
Yep.
and yeah, thanks for the brag sheet there, John, but I still can't figure out the technology, so that stinks. Yeah,
That's funny. That's funny. No, so today what we're going to do, we're going to answer any questions you guys have. So first and foremost, if you have a question about the Guaranteed Goals community, about the next course we've got a new course that launches in, I think, 2 weeks from now, called Make It Through the Middle. It's about making it through the middle of your goals, because that's where most goals fall apart. If you've got any questions, we'll keep an eye on that. We've got Jessica kind of behind the scenes looking at questions in the chat. Gian's looking at questions. So if you have a question, that's our number one goal for the next 25-ish minutes, is to answer any questions you have. I'll sometimes do that. I did that recently where I posted and I answered questions via post, but it's also fun to just jump on live and go, hey, we're here, you're here. What's a question you can ask? So Jan, if there's not any questions yet, you and I kind of talk through what are some things that would be helpful for people to know. So you have a list of questions.
there you go. Look at that,
okay,
the technology, huh?
Look at that on the screen, Jessica coming through. So if you join the GGC today as your membership for the next year, your membership is for a year. So it's an annual pass. So today, if you join, what's today, April 25th? It's until, I guess, probably midnight on April 24th. So it's an annual pass. And it gives you access to, I think we're up to 7 courses right now. The goal of the GGC is for it to be like a Home Depot of goals. So just shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves. So the finish course, the soundtracks course, the focus course, which is only available in there, the stack the deck in your favor course, the make it through the middle. There's another course launching this fall. So it's all the content is inside the GGC. It's one price versus selling multiple courses. Another question already, Gian. I don't. So since this already started, is there a way to catch up on what we missed? So one of the things the soundtracks in the GGC we say is you can't fall behind. You can't fall behind. Let's go back to that Home Depot metaphor. You never walk into a Home Depot and feel behind because you're just in a different place. So if I walk in and I'm in the gardening section and Gian is in the lighting section, I don't go, oh man, he's installing lighting, I'm behind Gian. I go, no, I need gardening right now. So the way it's scheduled is that you've got 15 different lessons in 3 different courses, 3 of the main courses. You've got the soundtracks course too and the finish course, a bunch of other courses, but you can pick up wherever you want to pick up. So if you come in and go, man, I'm having trouble with my productivity. So like one of the lessons is on, if you see my whiteboard over there, my productivity system. So you'd come in and work on your productivity. Yeah, see, Gian's doing the same thing. Like we actually do the stuff. So yeah, you can catch up at your own pace. There's been 5 lessons we've shared, but it's not like you're going to come in. There won't be any sense of you came in the middle of the movie, if that makes sense. People have been joining all year at different spots, and no one said, oh my gosh, I joined 4 months late. It doesn't feel like that at all. And that's why we did it as a community, so that it didn't give you that sense of you joined on lesson 4 and you missed the first 3 lessons. So that's a great question. All right, 2 good questions. Trina just joined. I'm going to open up something that's really fun. There's actually an app. This is the app. I just opened it up on my phone. There's a beautiful app. Yeah, it's very festive. And so if you look on the app, on the side, it says courses. And you can see on mine, it's like finish course, soundtracks course. You just there's so many different courses. So you're going to see that on the left, Trina, there's a little tab that says courses, and under those are all the courses. And it's not even just courses. It's also, there's VIP sessions that you get to watch replays of. The Just Jon, Just Jokes. I did a 60-minute comedy set that is included. So imagine the kitchen sink. That's what you're getting in here when you're a member of this community. All right, look at us. So Gian, I know you have questions, but here's the thing. We're gonna serve the audience the best we can. So we'll keep asking favorite Lego set to own and to build.
There you go.
Oh, Gian, I think I like the one. I gave Gian one.
Yeah, I can look it up. It's in my box. I was telling the people in the check-in just today, I'm taking it down to Brazil to build it with my father.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go. So I gave that one to Gian because I love giving people Lego sets. That's probably one of my favorite. It's a Formula One car. I'm not a huge Formula One guy. I appreciate the sport, but that one was really fun. And then the second one that I loved was the Ghostbusters car. As a kid, I grew up with Ghostbusters. Putting that together was super, super fun. My least favorite of all time was the Stranger Things house. I didn't like that one. I gave that one away. I gave it to children. I was like, here, this is not a fun set. So that favorite, those 2, least favorite, that one. All right, Gian,
Yeah, we opened a Pandora's box here.
Destiny Simply Me. Will there be an upgrade for the GGC to get access to the VIP content from Jon's challenges? Oh, great question. Yeah, so we're figuring that out. So I know great question. Let's get real specific. This is so nerdy. In the fall, we're doing a new challenge and a new course. Now, the challenge might be about writing books. We're not sure yet. The way we're doing the GGC is as we see needs, we create a product for that need. So again, back to the Home Depot metaphor, if 50 people walked in and were like, we need hoses, guess what Home Depot would start to do? They'd have a whole section of hoses. So as people go, I care about health, I care about writing, I care about entrepreneurship, we'll just keep creating content that serves those needs. So Destiny, I think what might happen this fall, we're going to do a 3-day challenge like we always do. I think it might be writing a book focus because we've never done that. And so many people want to write books. And I think the VIP is going to come with a free copy of my brand new book. So that one will be we'll have to charge for that one so that we can actually mail you a hardcover copy of the brand new book. So that one will be I think it'll be like a $67 VIP session. But the VIP that's included in the GGC is once a month I spend an hour to 2 hours doing group coaching with as many people as want some group coaching, and we do it. So instead of like, think about it this way. Last year we charged $1,000 or $1,497 for a 5-week course that had 5 VIP lessons in it. Now we're charging $497 for 15 lessons and 12 sessions of Q&A. So we try to give a ton of different content for a much lower price. Great question. All right, Gian, you.
Yeah, I think it's how different it is from the Build Your Awesome Life course.
Yeah, I think like
go ahead.
Go ahead, Gian. No, you want go ahead.
No, I think I took the BYAL, and I think there's obviously it's still content from you, John, right? So you see some of some common themes, but because now we have 15 lessons going into it, you'll see some common themes, but at the same time, you'll see so much more depth into the content. And then the best thing is going to be the follow through, right? The check-ins with me, the community that you can just join with writing books with writers, right? If you're just interested in writing a book, just join that space inside the community. If you're looking into health goals, you can just join that. Instead of just being a broad view of just build your awesome life, it's like, no, now we actually can take that step into, I want to lose 20 pounds. There's hundreds of people in there that want to lose 20 pounds in the GGC. Yep. And I think the GGC next year needs to be sponsored by the IRS, because the amount of people that submitted their taxes on time because of the GGC was incredible.
Yeah. So that's what's really fun. It's a community of fellow goal nerds. So the question, how is it different from Build Your Awesome Life? So there's one thing that's similar, and it's the awesome moments list. So there's this tool that I teach in Build Your Awesome Moment and Build Your Awesome Life that I'll teach for the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life, because it's a tool that's just helpful. So that's similar. But like Gian said, that was 5 lessons. This is 15. So the Kanban productivity system, that's brand new. The different types of fuel you're going to use, that's new. I think in the fall, one of the lessons is going to be around prioritization. Why are we doing a whole lesson on prioritization? Because when we do VIP, I would say 40% of the questions are, I've got too many goals, too many things to do. How do I prioritize them? So Gian and I are constantly working behind the scenes to go, man, what would really help people? What would really be something? And we go, wow, so many people have questions about John, how do you set your priorities? Like when you've got 100 things to work on and only time for 10, how do you set that? We'll then create content around that specific thing. So the Build Your Awesome Life, again, the similarities as far as overlap is that the Awesome Moments tool is the same. And then we go in 15 different directions as we figure out what do people really need? What are the goals they care about? How do we serve that? It's a great question. I kind of think about it like this. Like if you ask Dave Ramsey, hey, will you please invent 7 new baby steps? He'll say, no, like these are the steps that work. Like he's never gone, hey, I found 10 other baby steps. He goes, no, like you do your emergency fund. That's step 1. And then step 2, 3, like same with me with certain of my tools, I'll teach forever. So soundtracks, I'll teach forever. Build, your best moments, your awesome moments list, I'll teach forever. There are certain core kind of foundational things I'll teach forever. And then we find new ways to add new goals on top of them, like Gian said. All right.
And we have people from all over the world there too, right? We got people from Germany. We got people from Australia.
Sweden checked in the other day. Somebody from Sweden. I saw that was and Gian is from Brazil, so it's automatically international. Yeah. I mean, the second he joined international, so it's already, and I'm sure somebody's from Canada. Gian, we might actually have time to answer one of your questions. What was one of the questions that you wanted?
I think, and I struggle with this too, John. I started the year with so many goals, right? We don't have that problem of finding out what goals we want to accomplish, but life happens, and I got 2 kids. I have a full-time job and a part-time job, and some of these goals are starting to lag behind, right? Why is the middle of a goal so hard to get through? When sometimes starting is great, right? I just finished a marathon. Starting was so exciting. Finishing, crossing the finish line, getting high fives, getting a medal at school. But those middle 26 miles, the 0.2 at the beginning and at the end were really fun. But the middle 26 miles were really hard.
Yeah, and you just ran a marathon recently. I mean, you talk about somebody who knows about getting through goals. So there's a couple reasons. So one, when you start, your motivation is naturally high. you're naturally excited. You don't have to get fired up at the beginning. You're naturally motivated. When you start, the real work hasn't shown up yet. So you haven't encountered real work yet. It's just wish work. Like, I wish this thing would happen. This is going to be fun. It's not real work yet. Another thing to think about is, like, when you start, like when you're right at the start, you haven't been bruised yet. You haven't been criticized yet. You haven't had something not go the way you wanted it to go yet. Like, you're still pretty pristine. Your goal is unvarnished. It hasn't been beat up yet. And sometimes what happens, Gian, is we dream in a vacuum. So you plan your goals in December, and often this is what gets people. They plan their goals during Christmas vacation. So they go to a coffee shop, like when they've got a day off of work, and they plan like 50 goals as if they don't already have a full life. So then they take their 50 goals that they planned when they had a vacation day, and they try to shove it into an already full calendar, and you've just seen this train wreck. So one of the tools that's in the Guaranteed Goals community is the time gap analysis, like figuring out really what's it going to take for you to fit these new goals into your week. But that's why the middle is so challenging. And often, like, the last thing I'd say is the middle is challenging because the middle is often boring. The reality is excellence is boring. Excellence is boring. Like, I think about my job. I speak on stage. I love that. That's exciting. That's fun. Like, there's cameras and lights and the excellence, though, is when I'm at the airport and I'm sending thank yous to the clients I spoke to. When I'm at the airport doing all the tiny little details that no one ever sees, but are what actually ends up getting me return gigs. When I'm going, oh, that person mentioned I just did this the other day. I talked to a client and he mentioned he grew up in Wisconsin. He was a big Aaron Rodgers fan. So I sent him an Aaron Rodgers rookie card that I bought on eBay. I know he's never been sent that by a speaker. I know there's not another speaker that was like, hey, thank you so much. I thought you might want to keep this on your desk. Those are the little things no one sees. And so the middle, you've got a lot of those steps that are boring and challenging and unsexy. And we get discouraged in the middle. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And Jessica, can you throw the URL on the screen? Can you, with your magic?
Yeah.
Or is it already on the screen? I don't know.
Well, she's been putting it on the comments. Yeah.
Okay, good.
But yeah. I agree. I think when I did the time gap analysis, it just showed hundreds of hours that I said I needed to complete my goals that I don't have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You didn't have 23 hours in your week. Like, but we all do it. We're all like, oh, here's what I'm going to do. Like, and you say, and I think it's one of the simplest tools we have. And I think a lot of people have a eureka moment. And then because they have a community, they don't have shame on the back end of that. Sometimes what happens is when you take a course minus a community, you take the course and you feel behind, or you don't feel like you did the homework perfectly, or you feel like the tool teaches you don't have what you need yet, and you feel ashamed. What happens in a community, one of the best things is you then go into the community and go, hey, I just took lesson 3 and I realized I don't have enough time for this. And you know what happens? 20 people go, me too. Here's what I felt. And then you go to a check-in with Gian and he goes, oh, if you felt that, yeah, everybody feels that way. Here's 3 things you can do about that. And you go, versus the isolation of, I took a course by myself and there's no one for me to double check with. You know that feeling? Here's a feeling that's really funny. If you've ever worked in an office and the internet has gone down, the first thing you do is you go, hey, is anybody internet out? Is the internet out for you too? Okay, it's not just me. You automatically want the reassurance. It's not just your computer. It's not just you. It's the same with a good course. A good course, you should want to go like, hey, does anybody else think that same thing? And then if you're in the Guaranteed Goals community, heads pop up and go, yeah, me too. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've got 3 kids. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Or, hey, me too. I'm a new retiree. I don't know what I'm going to do. That to me is the benefit of a community.
Yeah. And I think that's why we created the GGC, right, John? Because for the last few years, you've been doing these courses, right? And it's an intense 5-week session, right?
It's a
and
fire
then you're
hose.
like, yeah. And then you're like, bye-bye. See you later. Good luck.
Good luck with the rest of your life. Yeah. Versus going, hey, let's keep working on this. Like, let's make, I want to help you have goal completion a part of your lifestyle, not an event. I want it to be something you do all year, not just something you do once and then you go, okay, like, and it doesn't change you. I want to show you how to have sustainable change all year long, all lifelong.
Yeah. One of the courses coming up, John, one of the lessons, you talked about adding positive pressure to your goals, so that you're more likely to get through that middle, through that funk that we feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you expand on what positive pressure looks like?
Yeah, so positive pressure can look like a number of different things depending on the person. So, for instance, when Rob Sintel texts me on Friday, like Friday afternoons, hey, we're running tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up at 6:50 a.m. That's positive pressure. He like that was not mean. That's not abusive. That's him going, hey, nudge. Hey, dude, remember you said you were going to do this thing? Well, now it's time to do the thing. So my car is going to be in your driveway at 6:50. Just letting you know. Sometimes it's people based. Sometimes it's making a loud promise. So like people in the guaranteed goals community will say, hey, will you guys hold me accountable by this date? I want to have written this amount of my book. And like now you've just added a little bit of positive pressure. Sometimes it's really micro. So I'll give you an example. I will sometimes create a kind of like a silly deadline to make sure I get something done. What does that look like? So if I know I have to leave my house at 9 a.m. for a meeting somewhere, I'll go, ooh, okay, I got to run before that, or I got to get this done before that. Cause now I have a real deadline that at 9 a.m. I'm in my car and I'm out so that's positive pressure. For me, with my job, anytime I have to present in a meeting, that's positive pressure because I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to look unprepared. I don't want, I'm going to be what, and at your job, if you're presenting to 3 people, you don't want to be unprepared. So like for me, that's positive pressure. So you find little ways that nudge you to actually stay in motion.
Yeah. One question that is coming on the chat, John, is, they said they've purchased Soundtrack's course, Finish course, etc. I've been a VIP everywhere. There you go, Jess, on point. How is this different, right? How is the GGC different from all these other things that you've put together?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing is in the last word in the name, the community part. I think so. I'll give you an example of how it's different. One of the things we quickly recognized is that we needed micro motivation, micro momentum challenges. So we started that. So in April, our April monthly momentum challenge, which we call the MMC, because I grew up in corporate America, everything's an acronym to me, was we said we're going to encourage one person every day for a month. So we're going to together as a community. And so every day I go in and I post, hey, today I encouraged Rob. And if it's not too personal, I'll share a screenshot of the text I sent. So in May, the challenge we're all going to do together is to encourage ourselves every day for a month, which I think is going to even be harder for people. I really do, because I think so many people beat themselves up. So the idea that you might go in and write yourself a thank you note in a notebook and say, hey, Gian, thanks for, like, Gian's going to see his dad to help with some health issues. Like Gian would write himself a note that said, thanks for being a good son to your dad. Like, thanks for and that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people. Or like, hey, thanks for being so good at follow through, or thanks for, so we're going to do a monthly challenge. And then guess what we're going to do in June? We're going to do another one. And then in July, we're going to do another one. And what's fun is at the end of the year, you will have stacked up all these little things and you'll learn along the way. So what's different is, again, courses are amazing. I love courses. I have courses. Like if somebody wants to just do the Soundtracks course, they can still purchase that. If somebody's like, I want to drop 97, I'm going to do that. They can 100% do that. Or they can say, okay, I want a community aspect. I want a daily challenge. I want a monthly challenge. I want to do this at my own pace. So that's what's different, is that there's a greater sense of we're in this together. And it's not just, so if you join today, there's going to be a challenge for you in May and June and July and April, and we'll be having conversations in the fall. Like, that's what's fun to me about this, is that it's not kind of a one or done. It's a continuation. That's the big difference.
Yeah, I love that. And I just got off the call with the check-in in the GGC just before this, John. And, I was sharing, I'm going to go to Brazil next week to take care of my dad. And so many people poured in. It's like, man, I was falling behind on my goals because I have a parent with Alzheimer's and I have to be the caretaker for her or for him. And that's, I think, what's so special about the GGC is truly the community, that you've built such a good rapport, and people that just join your circles just fully trust each other. And so when people join in, they can already feel that it's a safe space for them to share their struggles. And then
Yep.
you can find the encouragement from literally hundreds of people from all over the world. And then, you pop your head in every so often, every day with your MMC, right?
Yeah.
Update, as well as the VIPs and the content. So it's just incredible to see. I've just been blessed. I think I've learned a lot more. I've been able to achieve a lot more goals just being in the GGC myself, right? And I'm the one supposed to be overseeing everybody.
Yeah, I think that's what's fun is that people start threads. So what'll happen is somebody will go, "Hey, does anybody want to go through the soundtracks course in April together?" So you've got all this content. Again, the Home Depot of goals, shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves. And so somebody will say, "Hey, I've never done the finish course before. It's right here. Does anybody want, like, the 4 or 5 of you guys want to do that together?" And this cohort develops where they go through it. Or they'll go, "Hey, does anybody want to read this book together?" Or, "Hey, does anybody want to do a meetup in the Phoenix area?" So yeah, that's what's been really fun for me is that the hope was we would start it and then the community would build, and that's what's happened. So that's really encouraging to me.
Yeah. One of the things, John, that I see inside the GGC is everyone is goal driven. Everybody wants to keep achieving things. One of the biggest struggles is not every passion needs to turn into a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I
Yeah.
love cooking, and I tried my hand at becoming an Instagram chef. It didn't work out, right? I still
Did
love
not work
cooking, but
out.
that doesn't mean that I need to be an Instagram chef,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how do we figure out what should turn into a side hustle, what should turn into a worthy goal, a pursuit worthy goal?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because there's lesson number 4. Yeah, it's lesson number 4 in the next course. So the next course is called Make It Through the Middle. Lesson number 4 is exactly about that. It has an element where we talk about, not everything needs to become a side hustle. So one of the ways that I like to think about it is I'll always encourage people when they say, "Oh, it's just a hobby. It's just a hobby." I don't like that phrase. I don't think you should say the phrase "just a hobby," because what you're doing is you're criticizing yourself for not doing more with it. And so the goal of a hobby doesn't have to be you make money on it, you monetize it. We have a very aggressive monetize culture where, like, if somebody goes, "I like flowers," so like, "You think about scaling that? You should have an Etsy page." And like, and so you feel this pressure online for that. So one of the things I like to do is go, what are you going to keep that's just a hobby, that's just for you? Like, that isn't, you're not going to share it. You're not going to get likes for it. You're not going to try to scale it or monetize it. It's just something like, what if, and this is crazy, what if all it did was give you joy and that was enough? Like, what if, I mean, crazy, right? Like, what if all it did was light you up and make you a happier person and make you kinder to other people because you're full of it, full of the kindness and the joy? Like, what if that was enough? So I think that's part of it, is to go, do I have hobbies? And then also to check in the middle of a side hustle to make sure you haven't lost the joy you started with. I see that with photographers, especially. I know a handful of people who had a camera, they love photography, and then they're like, "I should be a photographer. I should do a side hustle." And then a year later, they hate weddings, they hate brides, they hate editing, and they hate their camera. They get like an ulcer when they see their camera. And what happened was they tried to make it into something it didn't need to be. And so often on the back end, I'll see them quit the business side of it and just enjoy the passion side of it, which is still enough and still has goals and still has all the things with it. But I think we have to be careful. So I know we've got time for like 1 or 2 more, right? We got time for 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah. And one of the things inside the GGC, John, there's a woman who is training her miniature horses to become profitable.
Of course. Like, that's the thing, dude, about the GGC. Like, right now, if you're watching this right now, you're like, "Well, my goal wouldn't apply." Every goal applies. Like, there was no, like, I never ran an ad that was like, "So you're training miniature horses? You're gonna love the GGC." It's goal agnostic, meaning any goal applies. You can just come in. So I love, of course, she's training miniature horses. Of course.
Yeah. There's a few questions on the chat about payment plans. Right now, it's just a one-time payment, and you pay the $497, today. Then next year it will renew for $497. I think the key is we may raise the price in a future date, right? But if you lock in at $497, it'll be $497 until you decide to cancel it. So I think that's the perk of signing up right now. And then as of right now, we're still working with Mighty Networks to try to develop a monthly plan, but right now it's just a one-time payment.
Yeah, so there's not a monthly right now. We might have one down the road, but again, we last fall, Build Your Awesome Life was $1,497, so $1,497. So we said, what if we did all the courses, like 6 or 7 courses, and it was a year long, and instead of 5 VIP, there were 12 VIP, and what if we made it, instead of quadrupling the price, we actually divided the price by 3, and it was $497. So we try to make it as affordable as we can. They don't offer a payment plan right now. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Technologically, that's not the right. Tech wise, I don't know what I'm saying.
There you go.
But yeah, maybe in the future. Who knows?
Yeah. I got one more question for you, John. Let's talk about feel. I think, in our podcast that came out this week, I talked about how I ran an Ironman just so I could prove my wife wrong. And that was the wrong kind of feel.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we just lack fuel, right? I think that's one of the parts why the middle sucks, is because we lack the fuel. We got motivation at the beginning, but that's the first thing that goes out the window. So what kind of fuels do we have that we could grab right now in order to keep pursuing our goals?
Yeah. So in the next course that we do, the Make It Through the Middle course, we'll break down the 4 fuels that high performers always use. There's 4, because here's what happens, Gian. So we joked about your wife being like, you can't run a Ironman, and you ran it, and that was a spite fuel. And I've done things like that, like where I bought a soccer ball the other day, and because I saw, this is 100% true. I was in Washington, D.C., and I saw a kid walking down the street kicking a soccer ball. I was like, oh, that's cool. Look how happy he looks. So I bought myself a soccer ball. And my wife and daughter are like, you're never going to pump it up. You're never going to even kick it. So what did I do the next day? I pumped it up. And now I've been kicking it around the house. And like, here we go. So that's the spite fuel. But high performers always transition from a short-term fuel into a long-term fuel for sustainable change. They always make that switch. So a short-term fuel would be spite, pain, anger. Like when I say pain and anger, that's the like, oh, I got dumped by somebody, I'm going to get in shape. That's the like, my girlfriend broke up with me, I'm going to change my life. Like that's a pain fuel. Fame is a short-term fuel. Money's even a short-term fuel, because what happens is you earn the money and you go, is that it? Like you want to talk to somebody sad, find somebody whose goal was money and then got it, because they told themselves it would change their lives, and they're like, it didn't really do much. So there's 4 fuels we're going to talk about in the next course. It's the fuel of impact. It's the fuel of community. It's the fuel of craft, and it's the fuel of story. So those are the 4 fuels that they burn pure, they last forever, and they're like cold fusion. They're renewable. They just create on themselves. And so if you want to have long-term goals, those are the 4 fuels we'll talk about in the next session.
Yeah, love that, John. John, what is one thing that you've learned from being inside the GGC for now the last 4 months?
One, that I'm not alone. Like when you are into goals, sometimes you go to dinner parties and you tell somebody your goals and they go, like if you're not into goals, people who are into goals are like, what? But why? Why do you have a wall of soundtracks? Why do you have all the hours for your last book on a wall? Why do you know that you've done CrossFit 49 times this year? Why do you know you've run 183 miles this year? Like, why do you have charts and check things? And, why do you know that you've done 6 of the 30 reels you need for the next,
That's right. Batch? I'm waiting for those 24.
Yeah. Well, I've already sent you 2 today. So why don't you pump the break? Okay. So that number should actually be 8. But so the thing I've learned is like, no, I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of people just like me doing goals just like me. So I think that's the thing I've learned. And then watching, Gian, you created a page where people could share what they'd actually done, and watching things stack up and have people go, I decluttered this, I ran this, I lost this weight, I wrote this book, I started this business. Like watching what would happen when we created a space where people could have that conversation and they had a handful of tools that they could use, and they amplified it. Like it was like, again, talk about fuel. It was like you gave a Ferrari gasoline. Like they were already a Ferrari. Like if you're watching this right now, like I always tell people, you're a high performer, because low performers don't voluntarily watch like Facebook lives about goals. Like they don't even like, there's somewhere on Instagram right now watching a cat video, and I like cat videos. I'm really more of a bird video guy, like an exotic bird guy, which is even weirder than cat videos. But low performers don't join a group like this. This is high performers. And now the challenge is being a high performer doesn't automatically make you a high achiever. They're not the same thing. And we all know people who've been capable of sporadic bursts of high performance, but don't turn it into high achievement. So that to me is what that guaranteed goals community is. It's you're already a Ferrari. Like you're already dope. Like I'm over here going, you're not going to believe what happens when you get gas. You're not going to believe what happens when you get fuel. You're not going to believe what happens when you get the right parts and how fast you can really go. I think that sometimes what I see is people have an amazing Ferrari and no one ever gave them an owner's manual, and they're dragging it behind horses. They've got 2 horses attached to it, and they're like, you see it and you go, oh no, that's actually like a $500,000 sports car if you use it the right way. And like, these 2 horses are pulling it fine. You're like, no, dude, come join the Ferrari club. Like we all have an owner's manual. There's things you can do, and when you do them, you get to go so much faster and so much further. That's how I think about the guaranteed goals community. It's a lot of other people who thought they were the only one, and then they get in the community and go, oh, and then they learn tools from each other, and then it just kind of grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And the next thing you look up and you're like, I've traveled around the world. I didn't even know that was possible. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah. I shared during the check-in today, a quote from Richard Branson that there's 2 reasons people procrastinate on tasks. And the first one is because the task is too hard for their skills. And the second one is that they don't know why they're doing the task or why they should be doing the task. Right. And I think the GGC fills both of those needs. We provide them with resources and tools so that it lightens that load of the task, right? Whatever that is, we give them the tools. And second, the community keeps them engaged so they can find the why behind why they want to continue to pursue those goals. So that's my take on the GGC. I love that. I think there's no more questions, John, unless Jess has some. I think, unless Jess has a last second question that she wants to push it on the door or push it on the window here. But I think thanks so much for taking the time, John. I'm
thank
so
you, Gian.
Today I said I live in the Mighty verse because the Mighty Networks is where we host, so all day I'm just on the Mighty verse, and it's so encouraging to see people accomplish their goals. The IRS is happy. So many taxes being filed on time.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. And so guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you've got a little sneak peek of the GGC and why I'm so excited about it and why it's been such a blast to have Gian part of it. He is one of the most encouraging people I've ever met, and the check-ins are fantastic. And so for me to get to do this with him and Jessica, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that you don't even see. Because again, MC is here. You guys have known and loved MC for years. The reason this group is as amazing as it is because MC works her butt off on challenges. If you've ever seen a homework thread or if you've ever won a prize, it's because MC was doing 50 things that you didn't even see. So and she's in New England. So it's really the team is all over the country, really. And Gian will be working out of Brazil this time next week when he goes to visit his dad. So that's international. So guys, thank you for watching this. Acuff.me/goals. Gian, when's the next course start? Do you have the date on that?
Yes. Next week, May 2nd.
May 2nd. Okay, 2nd. Perfect. Yep. Perfect.
I looked at my finished calendar. All organized.
Yeah, there you go. So hey, May 2nd, plenty of time to join. Acuff.me/goals. It's April 25th. You've still got time. Guys, thanks for watching today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. See you guys.